And we are live. This is Dev Pirates Radio, a podcast about tackling various development challenges to help us push our limits. We come up with challenges and then complete the challenges and talk about how we solved them every other week. We encourage anyone who is interested in playing around in programming, game development, writing, and other development challenges to join in on the fun. Each challenge should be accomplishable in about 1 to 6 hours of work, maybe a little more sometimes. A new challenge will be presented at the end of every episode. A person can spend as much on each challenge as they want. Many of the solutions will be discussed. We'll even talk about solutions to previous challenges if they're sent in to us at contact@devpirates.com. Contact@devpirates.com with the challenge name in the subject line. I'm me, and with me as always
I'm me.
is Other.
Yeah, I'm me too.
Oh, you're Other.
I'm Other.
Yep.
Oh.
And then I described the current challenge.
Nice way to just keep it smooth without showing that you're reading a script, Matt.
That is, yep. Insert challenge description here. Come on, we could easily program a little thing that would swap out, and so it would just be one script, and we plug everything in, and then it automatically does it every week.
And it reads it for us even.
Yes, it does.
I hear a dev challenge coming up.
Yeah, that one might be a little far. I guess I should turn my phone on silent. Shut up, phone.
That's one way to silence your phone.
Gotta tell them to shut up. Okay, so the current challenge is deoptimize JS and CSS. And so what you'll see on a lot of places, they'll optimize the JavaScript and CSS files so they're only one line. And that makes them kind of tough to read. And usually each JavaScript library you'll be able to get in the deoptimized format, but I thought it would just be a quick and fun development challenge to take those files and deoptimize them programmatically yourself. Obviously, you'll still lose all of the comments and function names if it were optimized to function and variable names, because a lot of times they'll reduce those down to single letter variable and functions if they're not externally accessed. But in this case, these files were not. So they're pretty easy. So the challenge was take these two files, which I provided. They're optimized to one line and convert them into human readable with spacing specifications of your choice. And that was pretty much it. I mean, I don't think you need to describe it anymore.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And so I started off, but why don't you go ahead and talk about your research, if you did any.
I didn't do any research on this. To me, it was just simple white space manipulation. So,
yeah, I did not do any research either.
Yeah, maybe we need to challenge ourselves more.
Well, I do research sometimes.
Me too. Me too.
It's not every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think you always need to do research.
No, but I think the past few we haven't had to do any.
No,
I guess I did have to do a bit for the database one.
What about the Unreal Engine one? You didn't do any research on that?
Okay, I did a lot of research on that one. Touche.
Should have done a bit of research on that.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's our next item? Is discussed our methods.
Okay.
And so you can go ahead and describe, I guess, your general method. Any cool things that you did. You can go ahead and share your screen for your code and stuff.
Yeah, let me pull that up 1 second.
It's taking way too long. This is live air we got going. We can't just have dead air going on. Someone has to fill it, even if it's like useless ramblings or something like that, you know.
Yeah, and then someone's just got to keep saying something. I know exactly what you're talking about, because if there's any second of dead air on here, then we're just going to lose everybody, and they're going to hate us.
Yeah, all -4 people that listen to the podcast.
-4.
We just can't afford them
Wow.
to leave them.
It's come up.
Well, they're people that have listened and will never listen ever again.
We'll present this to everyone. Yay. Okay. So that is my Perl script. So again, I wrote it in Perl.
And if your resolution is bad because you're streaming the video or watching the video or whatever, we will link to the code.
Yes, there will be links after this goes up. Okay, so the ripping of the CSS was pretty simple. I think there's what, 20, 27, 28 lines there. And really it's just taking the old line, finding all of the X7B is an open curly brace, X7D is a closed curly brace, and X3B is a semicolon. So really all I did is I find those things, and because this is a search and replace function I'm doing here, I just I print that same thing that gets captured with a new line after it. And that sets up the whole string as a bunch of new lines for each one of those things. And then I go through each of the new lines, and I have to search on /n. So I'm basically looking for one whole line. What else do I do here? So I push all the lines into an array, then I go through the array, and every time I encounter an X7D, I reduce the counter. And then every time I experience an X7B, I increase the tab counter. And the tab counter is just, I use that in the tab maker function, which basically just takes the number I put in, which is tab counter, and prints that many tabs. And that's how the CSS one works. And then at the end, I wanted to make sure I wasn't losing anything. So I took the old line and the new line, and I remove all of the white spaces and new line characters, and then run it through a little function I made called check parity to make sure I didn't lose any characters.
How would you lose characters? Should just be adding things.
I know, but I'm doing search and replace, and I wanted to make sure that everything was like, I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything.
Right.
I did have a couple of times while I was writing this code that I would get an occasional open curly or closed curly that wasn't supposed to be there. That was one of the problems with the quick and dirty way I did this CSS one. Anyway, did you do 2 different ones for your CSS and JavaScript, or just one?
No, just one. Didn't need to do 2.
Yeah, I didn't need to do 2 either, but I actually did 3. So, and then I did pretty much the same thing for my sloppy JavaScript ripping. I put tons of comments in here. You probably would get tired of reading all of them, but really the only other one I really want to show you is the good rip JS function, which I did a lot like you did yours, and I'm sure you'll show yours in a second. Wait, do you want to go back and forth on this, or do you want me to just finish?
I think you're fine just to finish.
Okay. So here we've got a paren counter and a tab counter. Those are useful because the paren counter basically makes sure I'm not inside a for loop. If the paren counter is above 0, then yeah, I don't break on semicolons for obvious reasons. And then tab counter counts how many indents we have. And oh, here's one hacky thing I did. If there is a open curly, because sometimes you'll see these inside a paren, like when you're doing a what do you call those? A function nested inside a paren scope.
Function that's inside a paren scope.
Yeah, hold on. Let me.
Oh, yeah. I just treat those as functions.
Yeah. So you don't necessarily want to keep going as though it was the for section. You know, the iteration and the instantiation and the checking part. You don't want to treat it the same way. So I treat it just like a regular function. Yeah, and then at the end I print it all out and again check for parity.
Yeah, I usually just treat them like a regular function and just end it different.
Yeah. I allow the ending with a close paren after the close curly. That's where these nested if statements come in, because there's a bunch of different cases that you have to treat slightly differently. Yeah.
I think that is it for yours.
Yeah, tried to make it pretty quick and simple.
All right, so for mine,
let me stop sharing and turn off my camera.
All right. So I have two different, I have three functions total: open file, write the file, and deoptimize.
Mm-hmm.
And the script that gets run is really simple. I just take each file. I have the file that I'm looking for and the file I want to save it as. And so that's pretty easy. I just do it one for each file, the same function.
Mm-hmm.
So inside of here has the file name, gets the new file name, open file, sets it to a JS file, and then I start a whole separate file or a string to put the file into. And I go through each character one at a time throughout the whole original file.
Yeah.
And I just add things to the other one.
Okay.
I have a few different things. I do a switch on care for most of the things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so I have a semicolon, and I have a few words. If I'm inside of a bubble, obviously I don't want to do anything. Also, if I'm inside of a for loop, I don't really want to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, well, at least not inside for loop, but inside the for argument thing.
Right.
And then I have the full colon, which you'll notice happens with case. So I wanted to increase the tab on that also.
Okay.
And I also wanted to end the line on that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have different rules if for the open thing, if it's on the function line, because I like my function open scopes to be on the new line. I don't like all the open scopes to be on the same line. I only like those inside of like logic structures like ifs, elses, and fors, for loops.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like those on the same line. For functions like I'm on a different line, I think it's easier to read the code that way.
Okay.
And then for the closing one, there's just a few rules for that. Some for JavaScript in particular, sometimes you have a semicolon at the end, and so you don't want a new line on this and then a new line on the closing scope and a new line on the thing. You want them both on the same line.
Right.
And then I have a open paren and closing paren. Obviously, I'm counting those. And then I have these other things where I kind of switch the state. And so if a text starts up, like a single quote text starts up, then I'm just going to run through, I call it in Qt for the single quote.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will wait until the end of that before I do anything except just add to the other file.
Mm.
And I checked for the escape character. Because if I get to a single quote and the character before it's an escape character, then I want to keep staying inside of the string.
Right.
And I do the same thing for the double quote, but I call that in quote, full in quote. See, isn't that odd? Isn't that cute?
Oh, it's so cute.
And then that's it. Everything else just gets appended to the file, and then at the end I write it to the new file name. I called it JS. It works for CSS also. And then
Okay.
I just echoed out a new line for, and so this just echoes out the files when they're done. So if I run it, boom, it's done. And then you can click on the JS file and you can see how that looks. Particularly, see the functions. They're on the open scope is on a new line, just like I like it.
Oh, you like it that way?
Yeah. And then for logic structures, it's on the same line.
Interesting.
That way, when I'm reading through a file, it's a lot easier for me to see which things are functions and which things are not. Which things are just regular logic structures.
Okay.
Then here's the else's. I mean the switch cases. And then there was some more complicated strings in here somewhere. It's kind of hard to see super big like this. Where are they? Oh, here are these non-breaking spaces. So you notice that I don't, for the entire string, I don't do anything except append it. And the CSS, the same thing. It's just there are fewer rules for it, but they're all the same rules. So that one's super easy.
Yeah, the CSS was super simple.
Yeah, once you got the JavaScript done, CSS was easy. So that's it.
Yeah. It looks like our parsing basically did the same thing, except I like my open scopes always on this on the line.
I don't understand it. It does not look good.
Matter of preference, sir.
No. Looks so much nicer with it on the new line for functions. So much nicer. It's way better. All right. I have it available. We'll link to it in our posts.
The post?
Yes, our posts. Our post-podcast posts. And then actually, I think I can just do the podcast post myself for this one since it's not that complicated.
Okay. And you've got all the links, I think.
Yeah. And so that's it. I guess talk about the next show's challenge.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the next show's challenge is creating art for a character and importing that into your game as your character's representation. Basically, it's what I did for my main character for my game project last week. But since I already did that, I'm going to be doing it for an enemy.
Okay.
So it's going to be the same thing. It's really just doing graphics. So what you'll do is you'll do animations for all of your character stances, like they're the idle animation, the running animation, a jump, and a fall. I'm not sure if your guy does anything else. You might want to do a different one for the dashing versus the just regular running.
Right.
And that's pretty much the challenge. It involves a few different steps. First, you need to design, do a little concept sketch of your character. Then you need to choose which concept sketch you like the most, and then you need to. In my case, I'm going to just be doing 2D, so I'm going to be drawing it out. And I'm probably going to use piscolapp.com.
Right.
And then then you'll need to convert those over into sprite sheets and then import those sprite sheets into your game. Since we're using Unreal Engine, you import them in and then you convert them to sprites, and then you create flip books, and then you add those sprites to the flip book in the order. It's really not that complicated process. I described it in my last post.
Right. So for anybody who's listening, no, I'm not an artist. Matt kind of is intimidating with the amount of well done graphics he had in his couple hours of game development. Mine will not be that way. Mine will probably be ugly. So if you're worried about not looking good, trust me, yours will probably look better than mine.
It's not really about looking good. It's more about the practice. So it's not so much about if you should try and do your best to design a character, but it's more about the process of it. So concept, drawing, and then importing and attaching it to your character.
Right.
But there are a lot of pixel art styles that are not very challenging. For instance, you could do like a blocky head, a blocky body, and single pixel width limbs. And if you choose some pleasing colors, it should look pretty good. It won't look that good if you don't also adapt all the other art around it, but it should look good enough for just doing the one character. But there are a lot of styles that still look good that don't take that much skill. I don't know if that's condescending or not.
Or you'll just make us all look worse.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not gonna. I don't want to say it because that took a lot of work. But Sword and Sorcery took a lot of graphical work, and it was very nice looking. But if you were to mimic that style, it wouldn't be as difficult as coming up with that style originally.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
But then that's kind of true for everything. If you just
copy.
Yeah, if you just copy something else, it's not that bad.
Right.
All right. So let's go over our projects.
All right.
So we have 2 weeks of projects since we didn't meet last week since it was a holiday weekend. I've been working on Gears of Fate. Nothing's been done on that for a while. I'm waiting on a certain header for a certain bit of music.
That will be ready in a certain amount of time.
Hopefully before your new push date, or new push date to the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it'll be done. I've been trying to get her to record it recently. We're just trying to find the time. I am currently graduated. I'm done with college. Yay! Yay! But Heather is kind of scrambling because she's approaching finals right now. So
yeah, that doesn't explain the last 4 months. Just kidding. All right. We didn't really have anything to do for Dev Pirates or Nerd and Loathing last week, so
no. I was working on my final project for school. Like when I say I graduated, I got my official graduation notification on Friday, which means I stopped working on school stuff on Wednesday or Tuesday. And yeah, I didn't get anything else done, including on No One Can Hear You.
All right. But it's good to take a little bit of a break for a little while.
Yeah, I've taken enough of a break. I'm good.
All right. See, for Endangered Kingdoms, I got stuck on the ear. I wanted to figure out a different way to do an ear than what I did last time, and so I have tried a few different ways that aren't very good ways to do it. Ears, I don't know if you know this, but when you try to model them in 3D, are kind of difficult.
Hmm.
You'll notice in the movie Shrek, there were no human ears.
Hmm. They were all covered with hair and stuff, huh?
Yeah. I
Interesting.
noticed it.
I did.
I mean, you see Shrek's ears, you see Donkey's ears, you see the other animals' ears and stuff, but no human ears.
Noted.
But yeah, human ears are quite difficult to do because they're very complicated shapes.
Hmm.
And especially if you're doing like a really basic graphic of a game, you can do a few polygons, boom, and you're done. Put a texture on there, and you get a nice blurry PlayStation 1 type of model.
Ooh.
But for more modern stuff, you need to actually go in and model out the ear, and all the details are very small. And if you don't get them right, the character will look like a freak.
So I take it there are entire tutorials on just ears.
There are, and there's a lot of really good ones. But I wanted to find, and there's one that I liked before that I had been using, and I'll probably default back to that one if my new attempts don't work out. I just wanted to find a more basic way to do it
Hmm.
that doesn't take as much work. Maybe more preparation to get the technique down, but not as much work in the long run every time you need to build an ear. But I don't know. I'll try it a few more times. If not, I'll just move on. I've been doing a little bit of body modeling in between, but most of my work for the last few weeks has been on Ride, which we'll talk about now.
Yeah.
I already said I got the enemies done and the bosses done. Um, I've been working on the cutscenes, and I have 5 of the 6 cutscenes for Zone 2 done. And once I get this last cutscene done, I'm going to work on the levels, like designing the enemy placements on the levels, and then Zone 2 will be done.
Nice.
So all I need is your audio for that first cutscene.
Right. You'll have to remind me which file the script is in.
It's in the ride document.
How convenient.
I highlighted it in green, so if you scroll to the bottom and then scroll up, you'll see it in green somewhere.
Okay.
And then I worked on Ride a little bit today too, because I'm working on that last cutscene.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mostly happy with the cutscenes. Once I get this last one done, I already did a cut a video for that first cutscene.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to do it again once I have that audio in and I do the audio for it. But I'm gonna go through and I'll record all the other cutscenes and then put them into tiny little videos and then maybe convert some of them to GIFs also.
Okay.
And
So it's just that one paragraph?
yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't want to make the animations too long. That one I think is about maybe 16 seconds long. Then the rest of them are around 10 seconds long. So they're pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to do them like the old classic, like arcade / Super NES style cutscene animations.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they're all done in like sprite form.
Right.
I do some 3D modeling, I do some pixel art, and my rule for that is like external things like the ship, asteroids, and stuff like that are going to be 3D rendered, and internal stuff like inside the cockpit or the pilot will be pixel art. And like all the people characters will be pixel art.
Okay.
That's kind of like my rule. It's kind of like anime, where they'll have the backgrounds will be like
full detail art.
Yeah, and then the characters will be hand drawn. That's the way I look at it anyway.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it. Endangered Kingdoms. I'm still working on the model for Savron. I think I'm going to keep going ahead with the style that I have, unless I get really inspired to do a different style. So that style I have in my head right now, I said I was thinking about reworking it. I think I'm just going to keep going ahead with what I'm doing right now. And then if I get any particularly strong motivations, I will maybe think about changing then. So no one can hear you. Are you going to do anything on that?
Yes, I will. I'll write on that.
Put you down for that. We're going to do Nerd and Loathing tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, you're saying something?
I was just going to say, I don't have any studying to do during my lunches or anything anymore. It's weird.
Now you can use it for other things.
Yeah, other productive things. And I need to not fall into the habit of watching YouTube videos and just vegging out on lunch.
Yeah, you should do that while you're working.
Definitely not.
All right. And that's it for the show.
All right. Thanks for listening.